So, good morning, One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living. I am going to invite our wonderful music guests, Ira and Julia, to kick us off.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I read a quote of Eleanor's at the cafe. Oh, just something that scares you every day. And ever since then, I have stopped hiding away. Can't keep this light to myself on my way. On my way. You've gotta move to change the stage you're in. You've gotta roll the strike all the bends. Gotta get on if you're driving the bus. Race has begun and we must trust. When I find myself in an unknown place where I can see old friends in each new face, and when the fear takes hold, you will find I am beside you. The road may curve, but we'll just have to ride. Yeah, we'll just have to ride through. You've gotta move to change the stage you're in. You've gotta roll to strike all the bends. Gotta get on if you're driving the bus. Race has begun and we must trust. You can hide from your fate, you can hide from your day, you can hide from your pain till your light goes away. But if you don't like what you're thinking about, then you can shift, you can turn it around. Hope brings motion, motion brings change. Change is your friend when the going gets strange. Change is your friend when the going gets strange. Going gets strange. You gotta move to change the state you're in. You gotta roll the strike all the bends. Gotta get on if you're driving the bus. Race has begun and we must trust. You gotta move to change the stage you're in. You gotta roll the strike all the bends. Gotta get on if you're driving the bus. The race has begun and we must trust. And we must trust.
Woo! That was beautiful. I've heard you sing this song a few times, and I always heard the race has begun and we must run. It wasn't until today that I realized that you're saying trust.
That is correct.
And I like that so much better than run.
It's gonna be all right.
That's right.
We're gonna be all right.
Okay.
That's the theme.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Really lovely. I love having you guys with us.
We
Oh,
love
we're
it.
living here.
All right. So we have Ralane is our practitioner of the day. Let's see. Let me get out of. There you are. Hi, Ralane.
Hi.
How you doing, sweetheart?
I'm good.
Good.
So today I'm going to tell four short little stories related to hopefully Reverend Michelle's talk today.
Probably is, I'm sure.
So the first story is going to be about Soren, and Soren is lives in Alabama, and he had a birthday, his 11th birthday this year in the summer, and Soren is autistic, and his mother had this idea because he loves Halloween so much. And he loves to wear a costume and he likes to knock on the door. Those are like his two favorite things and say trick or treat. And so she went around and she asked the neighbors if anyone would want to participate and support him in celebrating his birthday by letting him go around and trick or treat. Uh, and so 80 people in the neighborhood said yes. And he dressed up as a banana and he had a wonderful time. Everyone gave him gifts and little things in his little treat bag. And it was just such an incredibly joyful experience for everyone that participated. And the mother said that it was really, she felt like he was totally safe. And she just felt so wonderful in that feeling. And the other one, the second story is a birthday celebration of a little different kind. This was last year, and Robert Moore turned 100 in San Jose, California. And sadly, his friends have passed. And so his daughter decided that he loved dogs so much that she decided to invite the neighbors to bring by their dogs to say hello for his birthday. And he'd be sitting out in the yard and he could pet the dogs because he loves them so much. Well, at 11 o'clock, the entire neighborhood showed up with all their dogs, and even people that didn't have dogs. And they had signs, and they had gifts, and they had treats for the dogs and treats for people. And cars came by with signs, and it was just so heartwarming. She said it brought chills to her to just talk about it again. And they have a video of him petting all the dogs, and just so heartwarming. She said I couldn't believe how wonderful the neighbors were for her father. And then the next story is about neighborhood parties. I don't know if you guys know about a holiday called Neighbors Day. Um, so it started in France in 1999, and it was a way to get to know your neighbors. And it's been going strong since 1999. And this year, 8 million people showed up in France at their with their neighbors to celebrate. Basically, it's real easy. You just step out of your door and you meet your neighbor and you have little snacks and drinks. You can have them at an apartment complex, or you can have them in the whole neighborhood. And it's also worldwide in Europe and also in Switzerland, Belgium, Portugal, Germany, Italy, India, Mexico, Tunisia, Togo, Taiwan, and Quebec. 30 million people celebrated this year Neighbors Day. And the date, just in case you guys want to know, is May 19th. So we missed it this year. But maybe next year we can do it in the United States. So I thought everyone talked about how wonderful it is to meet your neighbor. A lot of people live alone. A lot of people don't know their neighbors. A lot of people have a lot of mistrust or feelings of not feeling safe. This is a wonderful way of connecting and getting to know everyone and finding out that we're really all friends. And so the last story is about tzedakah, which is giving from the heart. It's a Jewish tradition. It's really a way of life. And this story is from Gabby Kirsch. And she's passionate about making meaningful impact on the community through philanthropy. And she is kind of a person that budgets to give. She's a budgeter, so she, budgets all the, giving that she does. And she sold her guitar for $100, and she'd been carrying around this $100 in her wallet. And she was going to her yoga class at 7 in the morning, and this man came up to her and said, "Would you have any money for groceries?" She gave him, without even thinking about it, the $100 bill, something that she hadn't really usually done. And she talked to him, and he said he was going to go to McDonald's and invite his friends, and then he was going to go get clothes and go get groceries. And when she left him, and they exchanged names and all, when she left him, she felt so happy and so joyful and so light. And what she said was she was sharing the story not to show off, but to say that the humanity it inspired in me. She wanted to share that. And that really what it was he reminded her of her own power to move away from ignoring suffering and toward compassion, toward generosity, toward kindness, and toward action. And I think all these stories represent that. I think they all represent being in the present moment and giving from the heart. And look how much joy has been created. I'm still laughing about the little guy dressed up as a banana. I think that's just the best costume ever. So let us pray. Well, I thank God for all these stories and all these people. It's so inspiring because I feel the oneness of God. I feel the connection and the interconnection and the kindness and the caring and the love and the generosity and the safety and the peace and the action and just the abundance and prosperity consciousness and goodness of God, the goodness of people, the goodness of this world, just everyone and everything, all sentient beings. And so I'm so grateful each and every one of you for the Levins. I just so wonderful to have them with us and for Reverend Michelle's great talk. And I'm just grateful for the goodness of people, the goodness of God, and the goodness of being present to experience and enjoy all these blessings. And so thank you, Spirit. We release, we let go, and simply say, and so it is.
It is.
Thank you for that. That takes courage. All those stories you told.
August affirmation. I am made for this moment, and this moment is made for me. The life of God lives fully and freely as me. Whatever appears before me, I meet with wisdom, with courage, and with love. I trust the presence within me to reveal the way, and so it is.
So it is. Oh, thank you so much, Ralane. That was beautiful. Just lovely. Really. Whew. Okay, more music, please.
Oh, that was beautiful. Thank you for those stories. It's always nice to remember the benevolence in the world. So we're going to do preparation for your talk, Michelle. We're going to do, it's an intention, a Kavanagh setting. And we're going to sing it a couple of times, maybe 3 times. We're going to sing it once and then ask you, while you're muted to sing along, and we'll sing it together.
And it goes right in line with not only the talk, we think, but also with the August affirmation. It's in this moment, are we here? It's that recognition that when we are out doing meditations or when we are working with communities, are we present? Are we able to be fully present? And I'm not saying it's not easy, but it is more of a struggle these days at times. So we resort to this song and this mantra quite often, and maybe it'll become an earworm for you.
Inside, away from all the noise, I am harmony and joy. May we feel the fullness of this moment. May we be. May we be. Inside, away from all the noise, I am harmony and joy. I am harmony and joy. May we feel the fullness of this moment. May we be. May we be. Inside, away from all the noise, away from all the noise, I am harmony and joy. I am harmony and joy. May we feel the fullness of this moment. May we feel the fullness of this moment.
I almost don't want to break the spell. That was beautiful. Thank you so much for that. What a beautiful way to kick us off here. Ooh. Now I feel like I want to be quiet. But I can say good morning quietly again to One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living. And what I notice is that when we come together in community like this, I can truly feel the powerful light that we are. And I know that our light makes a difference. It makes a huge difference. And so know that with me, that our collective light just makes such a huge, huge difference. So whether you're joining us, or whether or not I can see your name on the Zoom room, a little square in the Zoom room, or whether or not you're listening to this later on, I just want you to know that you are welcome in this space, welcome in our community, and that we honor you. So today's message is called, I kind of broke free from the talk theme that was CSL and kind of did my own thing this month. So today's talk title is The Courage to Be Here, which Julia and Ira spoke to in their song about just being here, having the courage to be present with whatever is. And as I was putting together today's message, I realized how courage actually stands on the foundation of last week's message, We Are Made for This, which is all about our capacity to bring the wholeness of God into our human lives, which, well, of course, was our theme last month, wholeness. We talked about wholeness all month. But courage is kind of the vehicle through which we make God visible in our lives. Courage says, and here's your word trust, and that's why I probably heard it today, I trust my divine nature. I live authentically, and I'm guided by the wisdom and the passion and the purpose of my heart. And that takes courage. So let's start by defining courage, because, I'm all about defining the words. Usually when we think of courage, we think of doing something that we're afraid to do, rushing into a burning building to save someone, or standing up for justice, or taking a great risk in the face of danger somehow. And certainly that takes courage. But courage hasn't always meant to be fearless. From a spiritual perspective, courage goes much deeper. The word courage comes from a Latin word, cor, C-O-R, meaning heart, which suggests that courage is about living from the heart, to speak from the heart, to act from the heart, to stay open-hearted, even when it would be easier to close down. Courage is having the willingness to show up honestly, to let ourselves be seen, even when we don't know how it's going to be received. It's trusting that our worth isn't determined by somebody else's approval, and that our wholeness and our capacity to engage with life is never in question. Courage is meeting ourselves and meeting each other with honesty and humility and patience, love, compassion. It's having the heart to be fully present in the moment, exactly as it is, and exactly as we are, even when the outcome is uncertain, because we stand always in the certainty of our connection to spirit, which is always whole. And from this perspective, you know, we can look at courage a little bit differently than we might have before. Yes, courage can be heroic acts, but the deeper meaning is a little quieter. It's telling the truth about how we feel, or admitting when we don't know something. It's asking for help. It's giving it's giving ourselves to others when we just have no idea how they will respond to this, to us. It's forgiving ourselves, and it's forgiving others even when it's difficult. It's like opening to love after you've been hurt. It's being seen for who we are. That's courage of the heart. That's the kind of courage that lifts any of the self-imposed limits that we've placed on ourselves. And believe me, I've certainly imposed a lot on myself. Because you know what? It's been my experience that the wisdom of my heart is just grounded in love. It's like the stories that Ralane told us. All of these stories just grounded in love and connection. And while we need both heart and mind, it's the wisdom of our heart and the courage to act on it that opens us up to the infinite possibilities that are present in spirit, that we are present with, that we're connected to. Last week we were down at Ohm Center for Spiritual Living, and I told the story about the time in my very first Science of Mind class way back in 1994 that someone had gifted me with an affirmation that read, "Divine Spirit, show me the truth about myself, no matter how beautiful it is." And I shared how this simple affirmation completely turned my thinking around. It untethered me from any of the limiting beliefs that I had been thinking, that my thinking was based around. Because I was kind of a mess back then. Probably a lot of people could relate. I was coming off my second divorce. I was a recovering alcoholic. I was riddled with guilt and shame. So the idea that there was a truth about me that was beautiful seemed pretty unlikely. I'd spent years believing that my flaws were the truth of who I was, and that I was going to have to claw my way back to anything that resembled beauty in any way. But that simple affirmation, it's so funny how one little thing can plant a seed. It suggested that beneath all the fear and all the shame and all the stories that I'd been telling myself, that there was something whole that had never been damaged. And if that was true, then maybe my life wasn't about fixing what was broken in me. Maybe it was about having the courage to discover who I had been all along. The courage to let love, the wisdom of my heart, really show me who I was, to open and invite that in. Now, your story may not look anything like mine. Maybe it wasn't divorce and addiction, but maybe it was a painful loss or a difficult childhood or a harsh word that stayed with you for years, years of trying to prove yourself, or simply forgetting your own worth in just the busyness of life. But I imagine most of us know what it's like to lose sight of who we truly are. We've all believed stories about ourselves that simply weren't true. We've all mistaken circumstances and mistakes or somebody else's opinion for the truth of who we are. And it takes courage to begin questioning these stories and telling the truth about them. It takes courage to know and to feel our divinity, to remember, as we talked about last month, that wholeness is not a destination. Wholeness is our starting point. We're always whole. Now, do you notice the movement here from what we thought was true about ourselves to the stories we convinced ourselves were true to finding the courage to rediscover the deeper, more beautiful truth of who we really are? Divine Spirit, show me the truth about myself, no matter how beautiful it is. I'm always looking for metaphors, and the image of a compass, just an old-fashioned compass with a needle. And, I think that's a good metaphor here. No matter how many times we turn the compass, no matter how lost we think we are, the needle never loses its orientation to true north. True north is always true north. It may wobble for a moment, but it always settles back into alignment. There is something within each of us, something like that compass, call it what you will, call it spirit, call it divine nature, call it wholeness. circumstances and situation and events may spin around our world. I mean, we may forget who we are for a minute, but the truth within us never forgets itself. And courage is trusting that inner compass and allowing ourselves to settle back into alignment. So if we know that wholeness is our starting point and courage allows us to live from the wisdom of our heart, how does that outpicture in our daily human lives? Because that's really where the rubber meets the road, right? We don't really need a lot of courage when life is going our way. We don't usually question our connection with spirit when everything is unfolding exactly as we would like it to. Courage is called for in those moments when life doesn't cooperate with what we'd like to see happen. When we find ourselves wrestling with the present moment, those times when the diagnosis comes, when the relationship ends or changes, when we didn't get the job, when we were disappointed, when we were afraid, when we simply just didn't know what was coming next, and everything just kind of feels uncertain. Those moments. These are the moments when it takes courage to be fully present. It really does. To make ourselves available to the larger life of God within us. And that's what I always do. Pull back. Okay, God, I know you're there. What does courage look like in these moments? What does courage look like when our heart is breaking and when we're lost in fear? And when our world seems to be crumbling around us, and how do we stay connected to presence, even in these very uncertain and uncomfortable moments? So I'd like to share a story with you. I think I've shared this story with you before, but as I was telling it to myself again, I was tearing up. So I thought, oh, this is the right one. So it was about 4 years ago. And my sister Marcel, she's older than me, about 14 months older than me, she experienced every parent's worst nightmare. She lost her third child. Jake, who was this healthy 42-year-old man, he was working as a contractor and he fell off the roof of a 2-story house. His injuries were unsustainable. And he was on life support for about a week before he made his transition. And in the middle of this unimaginable grief, Marcel and her husband, Basil, Jake's dad, made this, gut-wrenching decision to have Jake's organs donated. I guess he did have that on his driver's license, but they made sure that it all happened. So they donated all of Jake's organs. Now, I just want you to pause and just think about that for a minute. Here you are in one of the darkest moments of your life, and you choose to give life to people you've never met before. To me, that's courage. Not the kind of courage that makes headlines, not the kind that looks fearless. This is the quiet courage of an open heart, the courage to let love keep flowing even when your heart is broken. And here's the miraculous part of the story. Marcel's family has stayed in touch with the man who received Jake's heart. And last year, on the anniversary of Jake's passing, he wrote this letter. And I just want to share just a portion of the letter with you because it's beautiful. So he wrote, "Today marks a powerful milestone, the 3rd anniversary of our families coming together with love, sacrifice, and a bond that words will never fully capture. To Jake's family," I'm going to cry. "To Jake's family, thank you. Thank you for your strength through trials and tribulations, for your courage, and for sharing such a precious gift with me. Because of Jake, our families are forever connected, not just by loss, but by life, by love and purpose. I carry him with me every single day, and I honor him in how I live, how I love, and how I show up in the world. I hope I continue to make you proud and reflect the life he brought into all our lives. Today, I don't just remember. I celebrate the unity of our families and the beautiful legacy that lives on with respect and with love, respect, and endless gratitude. Guy Noble is his name. This is the courage that supports the quiet, steady, loving actions that are the best of humanity. Not by pretending everything's okay, not denying the grief, not bypassing the pain. It's choosing to remain connected to love even in the middle of heartbreak. I don't think I could have chosen a better example of what it means to be courageous in every moment. Last week in my Sunday talk, I said that we are made to let the life of God express through our ordinary human lives. We're made to take something intelligent and loving and peaceful and abundant and joyful and make it wonderfully ordinary. We don't have to become saints or gurus or perfect people. We are just ordinary human beings learning to live the extraordinary life of God through our everyday moments because we're made for this. My sister, her family, the recipient, expressed this. Just the extraordinary life of God in an ordinary moment, as parents in a hospital room, by the signature on a donor form, and in a letter 3 years later. These are the places that God has made visible. Marcel's story reminds us that these aren't just beautiful spiritual ideas, they're a way of living. And it's interesting, too, that the root word of courage comes from the word meaning heart, and her story is about the gift of a heart. So if courage is living from the heart, then maybe the question for us in our everyday lives is, how am I living my life from the heart? When something unexpected happens, before trying to fix it or blaming somebody else or ourselves, before spiraling into worry, can we stay connected to spirit even in these uncomfortable moments or in the joyous moments? And lately I've been doing this very simple practice, which I was reminded of in Ira and Julia's, I want to call it a chant before I began speaking. It reminded me very much of this. And I've been using this a lot during my dailiness to stay connected. I actually think I may have shared with some of you before. It's incredibly simple, but it really works. When I find myself wrestling with the moment that's in front of me, when I get caught in primal thinking, as I call it, when my nervous system has shifted into survival mode, that fight or flight mode. We've all been there. These are the moments when you can feel when that happens. They're the moments when your awareness narrows and you react instead of respond. And I found in these moments something as simple as pausing, taking a slow, deep breath in through the nose, holding it for a moment, and then slowly breathing out through your mouth. It begins to calm the nervous system. It signals to the body that we're safe. And as the body settles, our higher capacities, our frontal lobe, begins to come back online. We regain access to that clarity and creativity and compassion and peace. We become available to the presence of spirit and to the creative potential that's always within us. And you can practice this simple technique anytime. before you answer the phone and it's going to be a difficult conversation, or when you're sitting in the doctor's office waiting for test results, or after you've received kind of an upsetting text or email. I've been there. Or before walking into a meeting where there's going to be some tension. When somebody cuts you off in traffic and you feel yourself reacting, well, maybe you can do it after then because you wouldn't know. Breathe after. Or just before responding to a family member who's pushed your buttons, just take a breath. Sometimes it is the most courageous thing we can do to just take a breath, one conscious breath, or maybe several, before you take the next step. Sometimes it's really as simple as that sacred pause. And if courage is an expression of love, we could ask ourselves, okay, what would love do next here? So, you can imagine yourself having an argument, and well, the other person is talking. I've all done this before. You're already rehearsing your response, right? You can pause and say, okay, what would love do here? Well, what would love do next? Maybe love would listen instead of interrupting or planning what you're going to say. Or imagine you've hurt somebody's feelings, even if you didn't mean to. Your pride might say, well, I didn't mean to do it. I'm not saying anything. What would love do here? Maybe love would apologize first. Open up. Oh, when I said that, I could feel my heart open. Or maybe someone you care about is grieving and you want to reach out, but you just don't know what to say, and you feel pressured to make things better. What would love do here? I don't know what to say. Maybe love would just sit beside them or be with them and let them know that they're not alone. What if you make a mistake? Oh, I've done this a million times, and you find yourself playing it over and over in your mind. You begin telling yourself what a doofus you are and that you're not enough and all that stuff that's not true. We're just human. What would love do here? Maybe love would offer the same grace that you would offer anybody else. And here's the important piece. Notice that none of these examples are about changing the world. They're about changing the moment. And that's courage in action. That's living from the heart. We don't have to figure out the next 10 years. We only have to be available for the next loving choice. And I think that's exactly what it means that we are here to live the extraordinary life of God through our ordinary human moments. So this week, just have the courage to be here, to show up, to be here for the conversation, to be here for the challenge, to be here for the uncertainty, to be here for the laughter, to be here for the beauty, to be here for the joy and the people who cross your path, because these ordinary moments are not interruptions in our spiritual life. They are our spiritual life. They're the places where the life of God is asking to become visible through us. And when we don't know what to do, we can just breathe. Remember our wholeness. Find our way back to our heart and ask, what would love do here? And then trust that whatever comes is okay, because we were made for this. We are made to live the extraordinary life of God through our wonderfully ordinary human lives. And we have everything we need to do it. So let's do it. Let's all be here fully, honestly, open-heartedly, and let the courage of our hearts reveal what has been true all along, that we're whole, that we're loved, we're connected, and the life of God is always living through us. Let's just be present with that. God is. We are. Everything is fine. I'm so grateful. I rest. And so it is. And so it is. All right, my friends. Lisa, is this you today, sweetheart?
It is indeed.
All right, my love.
Okay, and so why don't we all just consider that we are together in this ordinary human moment, which is the time of thinking of our offering and how we can celebrate one heart, one mind, and express our gratitude that we have the opportunity to be together and to hear Reverend Michelle. And so I think most of you know the ways that you can contribute financially. And one of them is, what is that called? I've forgotten.
Venmo.
Venmo, right, Venmo. Yes, that's an easy way
Yeah,
online.
I
And
didn't, I don't have that, that frame up, but it's at OHOM, OHOM, all caps, center. And you should see my picture if you want to.
if you're contributing that way, right, right. And then if you prefer to send a check, Michelle, why don't you give your address just
It's
because we don't have it?
1338 Idaho Avenue, Escondido, California, 92027. And if I said that too fast or you weren't writing it down, just pop me a text, I'll send it to you. And I think, well, I can put my phone number in the chat.
Thank you very much. And so, do you have the
I
blessing?
do. Oh,
Okay.
yes, and I changed it. I read it. We'd had that last one for several years, and while I loved it, I thought, oh no, we need something fresh.
Okay, sounds good to me.
All right, here it is. Can you see it, Lisa?
Yes. With gratitude, I give freely and joyfully. Spirit is my source and supply. Abundance is within me, around me, and flowing through me. What I give is a blessing, and I am blessed in the giving. I trust the flow. I am open to receive. I live in spirit's plenitude. And so it is.
And so it is.
That's very nice, Michelle.
Thank you. Fresh. So I'll come back to you in just a second, Lisa.
Okay.
Ralane, did you want to say something about your prayer group?
Yeah, the prayer group, we're going to take a little break on the prayer group for the rest of the month. And the next time we'll meet for the prayer circle on Wednesday morning will be the first Wednesday of September. Yeah, but we're still going to have the joyous expectancy of being me on August 26th, Wednesday evening.
Perfect. And do you have a focus? I know last month it was intuition. Do you have a focus for that?
I am working on that.
Okay, yeah. I know your life has been very full.
Yes.
Okay, and then of course Monday we have the prayer group, and we love coming together in that. It's really quite magical, that time that we spend together on Monday evening. On Tuesday, we're going to do chapter 5 in Radical Compassion, Tara Brock's book. We're going to have that discussion on Tuesday. And yeah, that's about it. That's about all I got. So Lisa, would you like to do the benediction, and then we'll have Julie and Ira play something for us.
Okay. All right. Okay, so coming back together in that quiet space, why don't we all take a nice, deep, centering breath? I am so grateful that we are able to share this time together within the presence. It's as Julia and as the Levins, I can't even talk. As the Levins say, the whole sense of coming away from the noise
and being in that quiet presence from the center from which everything arises. And I am so grateful that we have the opportunity to do that every Sunday morning if we wish, to be able to center in the presence and put the noise of the world away in order to center on that liveliness inside each and every one of us that we so gracefully are able to connect in order to more fully understand how to express the love of spirit in our everyday lives in everyday moment. And I'm so grateful and feeling blessed by Reverend Michelle's talk once again, hitting the note that I think everyone would receive something grand from. And also Ralane's stories. I will be seeing that little boy in the banana suit all week. And I'm so grateful for the service and each and every person that joins us together with this and creates this desire to create the world that works for everyone from a spiritual center. And so I release my word knowing that it is done through the law. And we release together with grateful thankings, saying, so it is.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. That was beautiful. All right. Let's have some music.
Yeah.
We'll put the exclamation mark on the
On this
service.
whole
Thank
event.
you.
Let's take a little Harold Arlen and Johnny Mercer for us at public service announcements here at the end. You get to accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative, and don't mess with Mr. In Between. We get to bring joy up to the maximum, bring gloom down to the minimum. Have faith, the pandemonium is liable to walk upon the scene. To illustrate my last remark, Jonah in the whale, Noah in the ark. What did they do just when everything looked so dark? Man, they said we better accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative, and don't mess with Mr. In Between. We get to bring joy up to the maximum, bring gloom down to the minimum. Have faith, the pandemonium's liable to walk upon the scene. To illustrate my last remark, Jonah in the whale, Noah in the ark. What did they do just when everything looked so dark? They said, man, oh, we better accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative. Don't mess with Mr. In Between. Oh, don't mess with Mr. In Between. Don't mess with Mr. In Between.
Oh, that was great. I have not heard that song in years. That's a great old song.
It is a great song.
Oh, that was awesome. Okay, I am going to say goodbye to our recording. Anybody listening on the recording, have a great day. All right, we're going to stop that. There we go.
Woo-hoo.